Breaking news today. The brutality of Russia towards Ukraine has only just begun. Just the 4 partially occupied Ukrainian provinces have shocked much of the world with Russia's brutality. If the upcoming Ukrainian counteroffensive fails and Western military and financial support are withdrawn, Russian President Vladimir Putin, whose willingness to sacrifice Russian soldiers knows no limits, could still conquer the rest of Ukraine. What would life be like if Russia invaded and occupied Ukraine? Based on their actions since the invasion and Russian history, Russian forces are more dangerous than the Nazi occupation of Europe. Russia will first destroy everything that represents Ukraine as a nation-state, including the Ukrainian flag, the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, Kyiv Patriarchate, and the Ukrainian language. Children of resisting parents may be taken away by the Russian occupation regime, which has been seen to publicly burn Ukrainian history textbooks and indoctrinate children with a Russian identity in the occupied regions. Putin claims Russians and Ukrainians are a single people, a formula that eliminates the possibility of a Ukrainian nationality. Putin's Kremlin reception room features a statue of Catherine the Great, who along with her allies wiped Poland off the map of Europe for over a century in the 19th century. Thousands of Ukrainian government officials, military officers, academics, journalists, and religious leaders will be killed or imprisoned by the occupying regime. According to U.S. intelligence, the Russian forces that invaded Ukraine had lists of Ukrainians who were to be killed or sent to camps. Similarly, during World War II, Soviet forces executed thousands of Polish army officers and intellectual leaders in the Katyn forest to decapitate Polish leadership in the region of Poland that fell under their control. The occupying regime will set up torture and interrogation centers all over Ukraine. The Russian Federal Penitentiary Service is building 24 of these filtration camps specifically for the provinces that are only partially under Russian control at the moment. Anna Voroshova, a Ukrainian businesswoman, was recently freed after spending 3 months in the Olenivka camp outside of Donetsk, where she was forced to listen to the screams of tortured Ukrainians. Stalin established the Gulag system of forced labor camps in the 1930s, where over 1.5 million Russians perished. The situation for the former Ukrainian soldiers will be handled harshly. Earlier in the war, 53 Ukrainian POWs were killed in an explosion at the Olenivka camp, an act widely viewed as a deliberate murder in Ukraine. Voroshova insists it was done, as a convenient way, to cover up the soldiers' torture deaths. The Bolsheviks threw 50 captured enemy soldiers, who had surrendered on the promise of safety during the Russian Civil War that followed the Revolution of 1917, into a blast furnace one by one. Russia will alter Ukraine's population structure. Ukrainians who refuse to obtain Russian passports will be deported to Russia in large numbers after Putin signed a decree allowing this. They will likely be replaced by ethnic Russians as Russia did after it illegally annexed the Crimean Peninsula in 2014. More than 1 million Russian subjects were exiled to Siberia by the Tsars between the years 1800 and the Russian Revolution. The Russians can be as cruel as they want. A United Nations panel found evidence that invading soldiers raped, tortured, and unlawfully confined children, in addition to sexually assaulting Ukrainian women. Lyudmila Denisova, the Ukrainian government's human rights watchdog, claims that Russian soldiers raped 25 girls and women between the ages of 14 and 25 in a basement in Bucha. 9 of the victims gave birth to their children. Putin honored the heroic Bucharest units responsible for atrocities by awarding them medals. Stalin permitted or even encouraged the rape of thousands of German women by his soldiers after Germany's surrender in World War II. Stalin claimed the soldiers were merely having a little fun. The once proud Ukrainians would be trampled underfoot by a Russian occupation, and they would live in constant fear of arrest, torture, and execution. If Western military and financial support for Ukraine were to falter, no one should be under any illusions about what would happen to the country.